Hey everyone, welcome to my first Rust video. This video about Rust is unique in that it goes deeper into the game space and explores things we might feel, but not know exactly how to put into words. Today, we will be looking at and analyzing what makes Rust, Rust. And I'm not just talking about the ones and zeros that make up the base code of the game. Those of you that have played this game before, or have heard the horror stories, you know of Rust's unique gaming culture. Throughout this video, we'll be exploring design grammars, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the player-created meaning within Rust. Additionally, we will look at the values that players place on things, such as resources and scrap, and how that can potentially determine how players interact with one another within the game space. Finally, we will look at the apparitions of metagames and values that are driven by interactions between other players and the game space. The nature of Rust's narrative is a player-driven story. This allows players to define their own values, paths, and morals within the game space.
Alrighty, it is morning, so let's find out from the Wheel of Fortune what we are going to be today. Oh shit.
Although that was a pretty funny example, the potential options players have for how they want to behave within the game space, in theory, could be decided by listing some traits on a wheel, and then spinning it to determine how one might act within the game space, much like Mimeo did in that previous clip. The freedom to define character values without limitations allows for a broader spectrum of behaviors from toxic.
Finally, fucking finally. I hate you so much.
Why did you do this? We're neighbors. We're friends.
Fuck your mother, bro. Actually, you know what? I hope your mom gets cancer, bro. I hope your mom's dying a slow, painful fucking death, and that your dad left you as a kid.
To benign.
I hear somebody chopping a tree. Let's go and talk to him. Hello? Hello? Hello, friend?
Yo, buddy, yo.
Are you friendly?
Oh, I'm friendly.
Sweet! Sweet! You wanna build a house with me?
Yo, hurry, yo.
With the Rustified general unspoken server rules of anything goes, just don't make fun of the admins, the possibility for players' characters to exhibit any behavior they desire is almost limitless. For this analysis, I will be drawing upon Crowley and Hawhee's definition of character from ancient rhetorics for contemporary students. The English word character pertains to three of the important senses it carried for ancient rhetoricians: the pattern of behavior or personality found in an individual or group, moral strength, self-discipline, fortitude, a good reputation. New players of Rust often experience a character shift once they die a few times and experience the truly brutal and unforgiving world of Rust. Players who start out optimistic and trusting often find themselves altering their projected personality into one that is untrusting and hostile towards most players in order just to simply survive.
Alrighty. Take two, I guess. We are back since we last gave up, or rage quit, I guess, from the server. We're on a different server now. It wiped a couple hours ago, so we're starting off pretty much the same as everyone else here, which I'm happy about. I'm feeling like this is going to be a good wipe. You know, last time I think I figured out what the problem was. I think it might have been the tiger. You know, there's a certain mindset you got to be in to play as the tiger. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So now, everyone, I introduce to you Bandit Bronson reporting for duty. He's actually the little nephew of Bandit Barry. You know, he does his own thing, okay? Completely different person.
Often, this change in playing style can have a lasting effect and alter future playstyles long after the gaming session is ended. This persistent shifting towards aggressive and untrusting mentalities contributes to the constant hostile player environment in Rust.
Oi, who are you? You got 3 seconds to talk, or you're trying to kill us. 1, 2, 3. He was definitely trying to swing on you. I saw him. You saw him. He tried to swing.
Yeah.
You saw him.
I found that after people who played Rust for the first time, their playstyle was altered into a much more aggressive and hostile style. even if the game was changed to something like Fallout 76, a similar survival game that deals with the same concept of merged identities from that game space. This absorption of character values is known as merged identities. Merged identities can occur both in and outside the virtual world. Merged identity occurs when people either project their own traits onto a character in a narrative, or begin to define themselves with the given traits of a character from a narrative. While both Rust and Fallout 76 deal with merged identities, in Fallout 76, players will typically see more benign traits reflected within the game space when directly compared to Rust. Often, these changes are made in response to experiences that the player encounters. Since players experience hostility and aggressiveness in Rust servers, they will adapt similar traits in order to survive and assimilate to the culture of the game, which helps raise the likelihood of their own personal survival.
It would have been cool. It would have been cool if you didn't fucking kill me earlier.
We're sorry, man. We didn't know you, you know.
It's
So
alright.
we just wanted to make sure.
We shoot friend or people who we don't know, like you.
I'm gonna try a friendship test. So let's see where this goes, because I don't...
Yeah.
There we go. We passed! What the fuck was
Whoa.
that?
That was not us.
Can we go have a
No,
look?
that was
Let's
not
go,
us.
let's come on, maybe we can capitalize on it. Come on, boys. It's team.
No,
it's team.
wait. Hold on. Just wait. Just hold on. I think, yeah, you were the guy who killed me. Well, I actually just spawned again because I was up the, wait, where was I?
Yeah.
That was you!
No, wait! I didn't...
That was you!
I didn't think that this would come back around full circle like this. Just wait. Wait, because...
Apologize right fucking now.
Oh, I am sorry that history repeats itself.
God damn it, dude.
Okay, the friendship test didn't really work for you, huh?
The mind thinks and acts on the basis of something like stored images, or simulations of experience. Images that are completely interlinked with each other, thereby attaining some generality, but they are always adapted to new experiences in ways that keep them tied to the ground of embodied experience and action in the world. The change in behavior and playstyle is one of the most noted aspects from both players and outsiders. This causes the majority of the Rust community to be defined by words such as toxic or aggressive. This style of critical learning and adaptation is what learning theorists call transfer. This is a key moment for active and potentially critical learning. It is the place where previous experience is, at one and the same time, recruited and transformed, giving rise to new experiences that can be used and transformed in the future. This perception of the toxic Rust culture is simply a glimpse at the cultural model within Rust, which primarily involves players doing anything necessary to survive. Cultural models are images, storylines, principles, or metaphors that capture what a particular group finds normal or typical in regard to a given phenomenon. Cultural models are neither true nor false. Rather, they capture, and are meant to capture, only a particular view of reality, one that helps groups, and humans in general, go about their daily work without a great deal of pre-planning or conscious thought. Society outside of this game space views actions and behaviors that are seen in Rust as toxic and brutal behavior. While this may be true, it's the norm for Rust, which makes it permissible and a part of the gaming culture that makes this game so unique. A large part of how players interact with one another is largely not their choice at all, as they're very limited in what they can and cannot do in a vanilla Rust game. Players are encouraged and often rewarded for performing certain behaviors by the base design grammars of this game.
Fuck, dude. Oh.
When a player is killed or dies, their entire body is lootable. This encourages more PvP, or player versus player, and PKing, or player killing, than other survival multiplayer games that revolve around similar themes, such as Fallout 76.
That's about the time I remembered PvP in Fallout 76 is not like it is in Rust or DayZ. Let me quickly break down everything you should know about PvP in Fallout 76 before we go any further. See, there's something called the murder system, preventing you from easily killing anyone that doesn't want to be killed, which is why I'm barely dealing any damage to this guy who isn't having any of my shit. So, if you find a stranger and if you would like to PvP, cordially shoot them, and if they shoot you back, boom, you're now dueling and you're now dealing normal damage. But anyway, the winner of the duel is awarded caps. The amount is determined by their level difference, and the winner also gets to loot the loser's junk. Not armor or weapons, just junk. The loser respawns nearby, and they can choose to seek revenge for increased caps.
Unlike Fallout 76, Rust puts players in a very uncomfortable position by making their entire body lootable. Players risk everything when they engage with other players. This added risk can put players on edge and cause them to act more cautious within the game space. Rust also caters a persistent world to players. This means that even after I am done playing and log off, my body is still in the game and can be interacted with. This means I run the risk of being killed and looted if I don't protect my body well enough while I'm not playing the game.
Sneaky Dutch fuckers. They're raiding me while I'm offline. They were supposed to be an alliance.
Looks like nothing.
Dutch snake!
For many players, this threat of attack 24/7 is something that keeps them on edge both inside and outside of that game space, as farming large amounts of resources and keeping them safe requires a moderately large amount of time for a solo or duo player.
Oh, guys, I want you to appreciate what you're looking at right now. This represents hours of work that these guys have done. It would have taken those kids ages to get all that loot. Maybe now you can start to see what could cause these kids to feel all this pain.
When first starting on a Rust server, gathering resources can be painfully slow and dangerous. When you gather resources, ill-wishing players can hear you, and these sounds and stagnation can make you an easy target. Resources can be in scarce supply on high population servers. As more players join the server, the ratio of nodes to players shrinks, which can force players to go out of their way and go into more dangerous areas to get the resources they desperately need. Between the time it takes to locate, harvest, and process these various resources, a large amount of time is dedicated by the player to simply getting these materials and supplies they need to combat Rust's harsh environment and the players they coexist with. The resources that players gather can be associated with real-world time as well, which is partially why they're coveted and hoarded by so many players. Oftentimes, players might find that it is faster and easier to kill other players and take their loot instead of farming resources. When someone kills you and takes your loot, it's as if someone stole hours of your time, especially if it's early game and the tools that can be used to harvest are slow and primitive. A large portion of behavior in Rust can be explained through Maslow's pyramid of human needs. The most basic human needs we have is our physiological needs of food, water, shelter, and being able to breathe. A new player who just joined Rust for the first time is probably going to seek to fulfill these needs first. This instinct and intuition to take care of the most basic and primitive needs in the virtual space is one of our many ways our real-world priorities and methods of thinking or behaving can trickle over into the game space.
Spawn naked on the beach. Everybody does. So first thing you're going to want to do is gather resources and get away from the beach because people are going to try to kill you. You can find things like mushrooms laying around. That's going to give you a hand early on. Seriously paralyzed horse. Alright. Well, that's a good thing to happen to find along the way. I guess they made getting food a little easier. You're going to need to kill some animals. You're going to need to gather some resources. So they definitely made finding food a little easier.
The intuitive tacit knowledge principle is concerned with the fact that video games honor not just the explicit and verbal knowledge players have about how to play, but also the intuitive or tacit knowledge built into their movements, bodies, and unconscious ways of thinking. They have built up through repeated practice with a family or genre of games. Once a player has enough food and water to sustain themselves, it is common to see them progress to fulfilling their safety needs. It doesn't matter how much food you get if you get killed with it on you and end up losing it all. Often, at this stage in the game, players will start to build a base to stash their loot in, and will be more concerned with finding weapons to defend themselves with. Since Rust is often a cutthroat environment, players typically play everything close to the chest when it comes to dealing with other players, because typically, one ends up in a situation when they're betrayed or backstabbed by someone they mistakenly put their trust in.
Hello? Is this your base?
No, it's our friends.
What do you want?
Do you have any clothes? I don't seem to have any. I'm a fresh spawn dude, I mean... I haven't been able to pick up much, you know.
Yeah, we have some clothes that are to hand actually, so that's useful. We're gonna drop some clothes for you, but if you've got a gun or anything like that, I know you said you're a fresh spawn, but we just encountered someone shooting at us with an SMG.
Yeah, was that
So if
back
you
at
have a gun
the
or
was that back at the
anything, then
radar
we're just gonna
dish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching. There was some guy with an AK just came out of nowhere and started firing at two guys on the radar dish. Was that you then?
Yeah, that was us. We were research.
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't see where he went though, but he's probably still in the area. I don't suppose I could come indoors, could I?
We'll drop you these clothes and hopefully you'll get along.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Oh, thank God, you're a fresh spawn.
What? Hey guys.
We thought that you were the dude with the AK. Well, your stuff's over there. Best of luck. With
Hatchet if you want it.
So,
Where's
we
the
had
hatchet,
to drop
sorry?
him to make sure he wasn't a threat, but we were about to pick him up. Oh, they're on there on the ground. Just there. Can you see it?
No, sorry, I don't think it's loaded. Wait, can you pick it up?
There.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only
Some players find that it's much easier to survive when they're in a group, and the bigger the group, the more resources and firepower they typically have at their disposal. This means that they're less likely to be killed and lose everything they worked for. As they say, many hands make light work. This perfectly fits Maslow's third tier of the pyramid of human needs. It's easy for players to find groups of other players outside of the game space on Reddit, Steam, or various LFG websites such as Guilded. This community outside the game space can be highly selective, and most established groups won't let just anyone join. Groups will have a set minimum amount of hours that players need to have in the game space in order to be considered a viable candidate. Most clans' requirements require players to have over 1,000 hours of in-game playtime. This equates to about 41 days and 16 hours of game time. This largely discriminates against new players finding reliable groups to join, as most clans and groups have a similar requirement. Going back to the idea of a persistent world, being a part of a group of people ensures that there is someone watching your back when you might be offline, at work, or playing another game. These allies can warn you if you're being attacked while you're away, or help defend your base if you're unable to play at that time. Rust has created a player community with the likeness comparable to no other. Many consider the Rust community to be toxic and unfriendly. I believe that a large portion of this behavior is caused by Rust's unique design grammars, the direct application and manipulation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and player-created meaning and value within Rust. Rust has a high probability of changing the way players and gamers behave in a multiplayer survival game setting. This game extracts a raw, primal instinct from players that, when unattended by a lack of server and game rules, can go unchecked and fester into a larger social problem in the gaming community, which is what we see today.